Welcome to Lessons Learned. I'm your host, Tish Henderson, and we're here today at the Loft at Tish, Hardric & Associates, and we welcome you to our second podcast series where we have a special guest at the Loft that we're proud to have today, Mrs. EmmaSara McMillion.
Hello.
Emma, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so pleased that you were here, and all our viewers are getting a chance to recognize EmmaSara McMillion.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Emma, owner of multiple businesses in the past, you have so much going on that's amazing, and you're also a host of a television show,
Yes.
as well as an executive director of a nonprofit, wearing so many hats, and at the same time holding down a family and looking like
A family
this.
of 10. We have a family, well,
Yes.
8 kids. Yes, big family. Yes.
Holding it down and looking phenomenal.
Thank you.
So we want the secret. Tell us, what's been your most unexpected challenge that you faced as an entrepreneur, and how did you navigate it?
Well, you always read it happening to somebody else. You don't think it's going to happen to you. But during the lockdown, I had just exponential growth. And so we scaled super quick. And it was like, that growth that happens before you are prepared for it. And so it was like a good problem because we grew so quick, but we weren't ready for that quick growth. And so we had to slow down things. We had to pull back a little bit. And so that was definitely, it was unexpected. It was a good problem to have, but at the same time, if you can't serve your people well, then you need to step back and then, just do some re-stepping, create some new systems.
Oh, I agree.
Yep.
Speaking of lockdown, how do you stay motivated like that during slow periods or periods of growth issues or uncertainty? How do you keep yourself motivated with your business?
Well, the number one thing is I've been studying, high-level entrepreneurs for years. And the number one thing is I always just give myself a pat on the back. And we have to be kind to ourselves. And we have to remember that every single person, no matter where they are in entrepreneurship, but especially the ones that are extremely successful, they have all had slow periods. They have all had times where they've tripped up. They've all been there before, and it's really just a part of the process. We have to just keep on moving. And one of my favorite stories that I'm always telling even my kids is that, and they're entrepreneurs in their own right, but Thomas Edison, he failed, I say it this way, he failed over 2,000 times before he got the right design for, the light bulb. And I'm like, was it really failures, or was he, 90 or 699 whatever closer to where you're needing to go? And so I think just realizing that making mistakes is part of the process, quote unquote failure is really not failure if you're learning forward. So
I totally agree. Failure is part of success.
Yes, absolutely.
And you just look so beautiful and amazing.
Thank you.
So tell me, what is one habit or routine that you have that's been instrumental in your success in business?
So my number one habit is having a positive attitude, and the way we think dictates how our day goes. It dictates how we treat people. It dictates how we treat ourselves. And so the number one habit I have is having a good mindset. I really believe it's a lifestyle habit that a lot of people look over. They're trying to do all the habits of, maybe their lists, maybe their systems or whatever, but it doesn't matter how great your lists are and your systems are if you have a poor attitude every day, or a victim attitude, or an angry attitude. The number one thing that keeps me successful is definitely a positive outlook.
That is phenomenal. And attitude determines altitude.
That's right.
I know you've probably heard that a million times, listeners, but it's so true. Attitude determines altitude.
Right.
Positive brings positive, negative brings negative.
That's right.
So with that being said, can you share a time that you've had in your business where you've had to actually pivot the business strategy, and what lessons did you gain from that?
This is actually funny because if there's one thing I don't have a problem doing, it's pivoting. Some people they don't like to create change. They don't like to change, or they don't want to get off track or whatever. But to be honest with you, pivoting has been one of my actually weaknesses, because I actually pivoted way too many times in my entrepreneurship journey when I probably shouldn't have pivoted. So I'm a visionary. I don't I don't shy away from change, but sometimes you actually need to pivot less, especially for my visionaries out there. I just want to remind you that sometimes you don't need to pivot. You just need to stay more consistent, keep your head down, and grow things a little bit longer before you even consider a change.
Okay, that's great advice. Absolutely great advice. And we all want to know, all the ladies out there want to know, what is the secret? How, and what type of advice would you give to someone that's struggling to balance their personal life with their business life? And I already know that you are an incredible multitasker. You are balancing your whole entire family with the multiple businesses that you have, and you are doing it flawlessly.
Well, I don't know about flawlessly, but I am doing it successfully. And I'll tell you right now is work-life balance is one of those things that people are always talking about. And there's one theory that says it's not really balancing, it's just combining and doing them together. And some people will say work-life balance, this is work, this is not work. And then it gets muddy and you feel a lot of guilt or shame because you're trying to separate things so much. Being that I have a family of 10 and my kids actually work for me, I've learned to make everything very synonymous. We do things together, and I'm working and flowing every single day. I give myself a lot of grace. But the number one thing I want to tell anybody out there, women or men who are looking for balance in their life, is to step back and ask yourself, what's important to you in your life? What's truly important? The number one thing that keeps me on balance is I'll ask myself, what does this really have value? Like, what's the value for me today if I do this right now? Number one thing is when you're an entrepreneur and you have that hustle mode in, a lot of times you'll work yourself to the ground and then you get frustrated because you didn't get the results you had hoped for. Meanwhile, the things that you really value are most important to you are like, they're neglected. Right. And then that allows you to feel guilt and shame. And so what I've learned as I'm, been doing this so long now is just to really step back and say, does this really need to be done by 12 o'clock tonight, like midnight? Do I really need to stay up? If I go to bed earlier, or if I spend time with my kids tonight, is it really going to throw me so far off? But if I don't spend my time with my kids tonight and tomorrow night and the next night, that's going to impact my family life. It's going to impact the way my kids feel about me. And so it's about weighing out what's important in your day and what's really going to move the needle. And, what are you just putting extra pressure on yourself for no reason?
That's great advice. Great advice. And recently you embraced a brand new endeavor, which allows you to be the executive director of the Mother of Change Foundation, which is growing and really becoming very significant across the country. We're just so pleased to see all the things that you're doing.
Thank you.
You exemplify excellence as an entrepreneur, as a woman, and definitely as a mom.
Well, I always love working with you guys, and I love your team here at Tish, Hardric and Associates. You're always a pleasure to work with you guys and inspire me, so I thank you for having me today.
Absolute pleasure. And Emma, if anyone wants to find you, how can they check you out?
Thank you. They can go to EmmaSara.com, or for the foundation, it's the mocfoundation.org. And then, of course, I'm on social everywhere.
Everywhere.
EmmaSara McMillion everywhere. And then we are the McMillions as well on IG.
Fantastic. Emma, we're so glad to have you at the Loft today.
Thank you.
We know you're everywhere, but you're here right now, and we are thrilled. We're so pleased that you tuned in, and we are online every Tuesday, 9 a.m. You can check us out. Lessons learned at the Loft at Tish, Hardric and Associates. And if your small business or your nonprofit organization is looking for support, we can help in areas of grant support, business consultancy, and careers. So check us out on the web at thetishsteam.com, where we're building foundations of success one step at a time.